Well, hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Adventures in Mobile Homes podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Hernandez, aka Mobile Home Girl of adventuresinmobilehomes.com. Thank you so much for joining me here on the 43rd episode of the podcast. Now, just in case you missed it, be sure to check out the last episode where I talk about getting started in mobile home investing and the fast track on how to get there. You can check it out at www.adventuresinmobilehomes.com/42. So today, with the theme of getting started, I wanted to share with you a portion of a live class that I recently did about how you can get started as a mobile home investor. And as I mentioned in episode 42 of the podcast, this is the fast track on what you can do to get started in mobile home investing that you may not hear from other real estate gurus out there. Because let's be honest, real estate investing, especially mobile home investing, it isn't easy. And there are a lot of steps that you need to know and do to be successful as a mobile home investor. But these real estate gurus, they make it look so easy. But honestly, it's not. And that's what I talk about in the class. I give you step-by-step guidelines on exactly what you need to do to be a successful mobile home investor right here, right now, from someone doing it day in and day out. So check it out. Here it goes. Okay, great. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming to my class, Getting Started in Mobile Home Investing. My name is Rachel Hernandez from adventuresinmobilehomes.com. I also do have a podcast, Adventures in Mobile Homes. And I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation. Like I said before, if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat. I will go ahead and get to them at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is basically your Getting Started in Mobile Home Investing course. And the goal of today is to just teach you how you can get started in mobile home investing. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to go through the slides right now. Okay. So I'm going to move this right here, but a little bit about me, you kind of know, I'm a best-selling author. I've written a few books about mobile home investing and also real estate investing. I'm also a real estate investor. I'm a full-time real estate investor, meaning that I make an income and I make a living from real estate investing. I'm an international speaker and I'm also a podcaster. Okay, so here's a little bit about my background. I started in single family homes way back before I started getting into mobile home investing in 2007. I was first a bird dog, and I'll tell you a little bit about what a bird dog is. A bird dog is kind of a way that you can build up cash if you are low on cash and you want to build up some cash before you start buying and holding real estate. So I was a bird dog first, and basically what I did is I actually found deals for other investors through the single family home market. I specialized in single family homes. And I found these investors through my real estate investment club. And I'll go a little bit about how you can start out as a bird dog or a wholesaler in mobile home investing as we proceed through the class. But I did bird dogging for a little bit and I built up some cash there. And each deal, when you are a bird dog and you find these deals and the investors close on these deals, they pay you pretty much like a couple $100s per deal. So after I bird dogged for a while, I became a wholesaler and I wholesaled single family homes, also had the same buyers as well too. And the difference between a bird dog and a wholesaler is basically, as a bird dog, you just kind of go out and get all the information about the properties and the criteria that the investors that you work with want, and then you give all that information to the investor. And then if they do go ahead and close on the deal and work a deal out with the seller, then you get paid a fee, for your time. The difference between that and a wholesaler is basically what I did is I did all that, what a bird dog would do. And then I put these homes under contract and assigned my interest in the contract to my end buyer, which was a real estate investor. So the difference between a bird dog and a wholesaler is a bird dog, you're getting paid a couple $100s per deal versus a wholesaler, you're getting paid a couple $1,000s per deal. So as you can see, there's a big difference. After I bird dogged and then wholesaled and I built enough cash to start buying and holding real estate, then I became a landlord. And I started becoming a landlord, buying single family homes for cash flow. And it was just one of those things where I managed these homes myself in the beginning. And I even brought in property management, but I just found like every month the rent would go towards fees such as homeowners insurance, insurance for the home. Taxes would go up every year as the home appreciated, and it was really eating into my cash flow. And one of the other things that I mentioned and noticed was that the cash flow was actually also going towards the mortgage, and it was just not a good situation because I wanted more cash flow out of each property, and I did all this work. So what I decided to do, and this was way back in 2007 when I first got started in mobile home investing, was I had all my real estate properties, my single family homes, and I decided to sell them. I cashed out on my entire real estate portfolio. And that's when I got into mobile home investing and started learning it. And my mentor was Lonnie Scruggs, who is the godfather of mobile home investing. He helped me along the way. And he was just great answering my questions and mentoring me. And actually, one of his mentees was actually my mentor as well too. And we'll get into like finding help and mentoring and all that as we go through the course. But I've had like Lonnie, and then I've had his mentee, and then I've had local mentors, regional mentors, national mentors. So I've always had someone just helping me along the way. So that's a little bit about background about me, but in as a mobile home investor, I buy them for cash and then I just receive all the cash flow from these properties. So one of the good things, if I just buy the homes themselves, not attached to land, that every year it gets assessed lower the homes as if it is personal property, because it's more like a car that when it gets assessed as a DMV, so the taxes get less, and then also the insurance is less. Of course, that depends on what area you live in, but that's what I've found in my experience here in Texas. So let me talk about objectives here. This is basically a fast track to getting started in mobile home investing. And I'm going to go beyond the basics, beyond what you hear in the videos or the podcasts or in the articles. And I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on what's worked for me and what doesn't work for me. And I will tell you, I did a lot of market, especially when it comes to marketing, what Lonnie taught in his books. And some techniques work for me and some techniques didn't work for me. So I'm going to share a little bit of what worked and what didn't work. And I will also go over what real estate gurus don't tell you specifically about mobile home investing, what they don't tell other people, because there's more than meets the eye that as a real estate investor and even as a mobile home investor, it is a lot of work and it does take work. So taking action is good, but just know that the results that you want may not come right away. So before I go on, I'm going to make some assumptions here. I'm going to assume that thank you for, taking the time out of your day to attend this class and pay for this class. But I am going to assume that you've got your personal finances in order pretty much. You know how much money is coming in and coming out. You've read about mobile home investing. You've read my podcast, listened to my podcast, read my blog, adventuresinmobilehomes.com, maybe watch some YouTube videos. And then you've read some books about mobile home investing, but you're just kind of here to get started and you're here to take action because you want results. So that's basically, I'm going to assume that you've done all this. Maybe you haven't read the be all end all about mobile home investing, but you do have some knowledge about it and you've read and you've listened to podcasts and all that. So I'm going to make those assumptions. Okay, so let me talk about the two paths of getting started as a mobile home investor. And I just want to remind you, if you do have any questions as I go through the presentation, if you just want to go ahead and type them in the chat, and I will be sure to get to it. Okay, so there are basically two paths that you want to take as a mobile home investor. Either you build up cash because you don't have the funds right now to buy and hold mobile homes for cash flow, or two, you've already have the cash and you're ready to buy and hold mobile homes for cash flow. So I'm going to talk about the first route, which is building up cash. And I just want to take a second here. If you're listening to this and you need to grab like a notebook or something to write with, pen and paper, I do encourage you to get something to write with right now. I forgot to mention it, but just kind of take notes as I go along. And then if you do have any questions, again, feel free to write them down, put them in the chat. You can also PM me privately if you have any questions or concerns, and I'll get back with you on that as well too. But let me talk about building up cash. Okay, two things you can do, and I did talk about this briefly, was you can either bird dog or wholesale to build up cash as a mobile home investor. So let's talk about bird dogging and wholesaling. I did kind of talk about finding other real estate investors to work with briefly at your real estate investment club. And so if you're going to be bird dogging first and then wholesaling, what you want to do to find buyers, because people always ask me, well, Rachel, how do I find these buyers? Is go to your local real estate investment club and talk to the key players there. So either the president or people on the board, people who are very active within the club or the community, and ask them, who is actively doing mobile home investing deals? Who is buying and holding deals? Who is buying and fixing and flipping these mobile homes? Who do you think I should talk to? Now, if they don't know, then ask them, are there any really active real estate investors in the club who kind of know people? And if they do, take note of that person and start talking with them and see if maybe they know someone, or if they have other associates in the club organization that may know people who are mobile home investors. And I would suggest, if you are going to be building up cash, first start out as a bird dog. I've gotten so many people asking me questions about, well, I want to wholesale, and how do I wholesale? And are you going to come out with a course on wholesaling? I really don't suggest doing wholesaling first if you don't have the experience, because the bird dogging will actually give you the experience without taking the risk of putting something under contract. So if you start out as a bird dog first, you kind of have less risk trying to find, doing your market research and working with motivated sellers and also buyers on that end as well too. So start out there as a bird dog. Find a couple real estate investors to work with in your local real estate investment club. The other place to find real estate investors, if you want to bird dog for them or wholesale for them, is the mobile home parks. And I will talk about networking as we go through the class. But if you want to just check out some of the mobile home parks and see what is actually on the market, who are the people who have for rent? Who are the people who have for sale signs for their mobile homes in the parks? And I will say, I will go into this later, but the park manager, that person or the park owner will know exactly who are the investors in the parks doing deals. and they can actually introduce you if you have a good relationship. And I'll talk about talking to the park manager later on in the class. But again, if you have any questions, just type them out in the chat. So let me talk about wholesaling. Once you've done enough deals as a bird dog and you've worked with a couple investors, you found their criteria, their investment criteria, you've given them the information for some motivated sellers in the types of parks that they want to work with. Most times, if they are active, they will already have the okay to work in these mobile home parks. So that's actually easy for you because you may not need to go through the park manager and do the whole introduction. That investor that you're working with can give you an introduction if they already have a relationship with them, which is great for you. But once you've done a couple deals as a bird dog, as you're building up cash, then you may want to look into wholesaling. If you want to get paid more for your time and finding these deals and putting together, then basically as a wholesaler, you'll do everything that a bird dog does, the criteria, the investment criteria of the investor that you're working with. You do your market research, the lot rent, what things can rent for or sell for, depending on who your investor is that you're working with. And then you put the deal together. You actually put it under contract. And I will talk about the paperwork as we continue through the class. But honestly, paperwork is not a big deal. A lot of beginning real estate investors really make a big deal out of doing the paperwork. And I was like that too. But really, it's more building the trust and learning how to build trust with these people, like whether they be sellers, motivated buyers, when you're networking with the park manager, the owner, contractors, whatever. All that matters really is how you develop the relationship and how you can get people to know, like, and trust you. So if you get anything out of this with the networking, just know those three words: know, like, and trust. If you can get people to do that for you, then you're going to be very successful as a mobile home investor and anything else that you do in life. Okay. So there you have it. A portion of the live class that I recently did on how you can get started as a mobile home investor. Honestly, it was a really fun class. And I'm glad to have met a few of my listeners and readers in person, though virtual. And if you did miss this class and would like to catch the replay, go to www.adventuresofmobilehomes.com/getting-started-class. Again, www.adventuresofmobilehomes.com/getting-started-class. Or you can check out the show notes for this episode, and I'll link it up there. You can find it at www.adventuresofmobilehomes.com/43. Again, www.adventuresofmobilehomes.com/43. Well, that's about it for now. I'm going to be traveling for the holidays, so I'll be off with the podcast until next year, 2022. Can you believe it's been another year? Time sure does fly. In any case, I hope you have a good holiday season with your family and your loved ones. And speaking of family and your loved ones, if you've enjoyed the podcast so far, please be sure to share it with family and friends. And be sure to follow me and subscribe. And if you have some time, please write a review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser if you've enjoyed the podcast. It really helps me to keep motivated and come up with more content to help you become a better mobile home investor. And speaking of support, if you've enjoyed the show so far, please check out the support page. There you'll find other ways to support me and the show and access exclusive content and behind-the-scenes footage of my own mobile home investing business. You can find it at www.adventuresofmobilehomes.com/support. Again, www.adventuresofmobilehomes.com/support. That's about it for now. Until next time, this is Rachel Hernandez, aka Mobile Home Girl of the Adventures of Mobile Homes podcast, signing off. Happy holidays.